nothing resolved. There was a man calling because he needed his anxiety medication and they would not prescribe it to him. And when they finally decided because he called for about I want to say a few weeks. He called for a few weeks just to be able to be prescribed anxiety medication. He was 90 years old. 90 years old. And they decided that they were going to prescribe him the medication, but give him less. Hey, it's Queen Scoop, back with the latest scoop about how God wants you to be. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment on this video, and be blessed. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I quit my job, and I'm also going to show how this is of God. A lot of people find it very strange when you all of a sudden quit your job. And I want to tell a lot of people, first and foremost, do not ever be afraid to just up and quit a job. Because I find that God is somewhere in that when you leave like that. Because you won't just up and quit, dealing with a good job. So, God will take you away from something that's not meant, and he'll take you away from something that's not pleasing to him. So where I used to work at a call center for a local hospital here in Jacksonville. I want to say the name, but I think that a lot of people will know what I'm talking about when I start talking about this call center, because when I start naming things, they'll probably be like, oh, okay, I know exactly what hospital she's talking about. And this is a very prominent hospital here in Jacksonville, Florida. If you don't go to Baptist, then you'll go to that one or another one. I don't want to mention the other one, but because I've never been I've never actually been seen at either of these hospitals, but it's due to the fact of how I saw customers were being treated at this specific hospital that I was working for. So I want to start by saying I started working there about March of this year. I got hired through a temp agency. Their training was only a week, and I believe that since March their training has actually shortened, and they kind of have started doing it where they're just doing everything on the job now. And a lot of the new people that are coming in they're not staying long because of the fact that it's just not a conducive environment for training individuals to do their job correctly. They expect you to ask a lot of questions instead of just teaching you. And that's not really a way to train somebody, but I'm not sure why they think that helps. But because of the fact that they have such a high turnover rate, it's due to the fact that they refuse to train you adequately, and therefore you'll end up dealing with calls where somebody's calling you about something that is like really, really bizarre, and it's all because of the fact that a doctor didn't do what they were supposed to do. And I want to give one example of that. So I want to say this was in May. I think May or June I got this call. A pregnant lady had called me and told me that she had been in an accident, and she had like 4 kids with her. I literally started like sweating really fast, and my heart started beating really fast, because that gives me anxiety when I hear stuff like that, because I know I'm worried more so than that person is. That's how my anxiety presents whenever I'm not, dealing with anything bipolar. I usually just have bouts of anxiety. But I am, handling that with the help of a mental health clinic. So it'll be okay. And so basically, when she called, I felt so bad because what I had to do was transfer her to another call. Well, I made appointments for her and her children, and they were like, "You made the wrong type of appointment. She can't come here." And I'm just like, "Why not?" Well, I didn't ask them why. I just knew that they had sent me a message about that, and I was just kind of like, this is ridiculous. She need help. She need to be seen. I want to make sure she's going somewhere where she can be seen right away. So that was like strike one for me when I dealt with that call. Strike two for me was the treatment of the staff from the team leads. So each pod had a team lead, and there were about, I want to say 7 to 10 pods, and each team lead had a backup. I noticed that the team lead that I had, he was nothing short of rude. He was the person that you did not want to have to speak to. You did not want to have to speak to him. And it's so funny that I ended up being placed in his pod, because at first it was someone else, but he was leaving. So he was taking over that transferring agent, whatever he was doing. And so he never got a chance to really talk to me the way I saw him talk to people, because I would never ask. That was, now, like I said in the beginning, they expect you to ask questions. They'd be like, "We're here. All you got to do is ask us a question." I wasn't sitting up there asking that. Most of the time, I was sitting up there trying to figure out a way for me not to have to ask a question, because the way that we were having to work, I was just like, I don't feel comfortable asking these people questions. But that was just my anxiety just playing on me, because I have such a hard time asking people for help. Even if it's something I should be asking, I will try to figure it out by myself. I'll do my best to figure it out by myself. That's how I always have been. Now, if you suffer from anxiety, you got to know that the first thing that's going on is you're not able to recognize what it is that's bothering you about the said situation. So you kind of have to stop and think. And I didn't stop and think when I had dealt with that lady that was pregnant with those children that had been in a car accident. So I was letting my anxiety get in the way. I wasn't calling on God to be like, "Hey, can you calm me down so I can handle this call better?" And I wasn't rude to her. It was just like I was having such anxiety about it, because I was scared that something was going to happen to her and the babies and her baby inside of her. So I was just really worried about that. But I noticed that when new team members would come on to the pod, because it just so happened that the pod I was in had less people in it than all the other pods. Every other pod had about 8 to 10 people, but my specific pod had only 6 people when I first went to that pod, because I was in a different pod at first, and then they switched me from that pod to a different one. Why? I have no idea. So when I saw new people coming in, I would be like I would be the first person to be very cordial, say, "Hey," like, give them a warm welcome. I treated them very kindly, and I was just like, I want them to succeed here. So there were several instances where the new people would begin to ask questions, and the team lead would be like barely responding, or when he would respond, he'll be like, are you, did you ask them this? Did you ask them that? And it's just kind of like, some of this stuff, you don't have to worry about them asking that. You just really need to give them the answer, because you're telling them that they need to ask you questions if there's anything that they need an answer to. There was one new girl who was asking a lot of questions, and they were something that she needed to know. But the team lead kept telling her, I don't know why you're asking me this question. We need to move on to calls that we can handle. Transfer this call to somewhere else. All you have to do is say, transfer the call to such and such and such. He was so adamant about being snooty and rude about it, and just wanting to say, hey, why are you helping these people like this? This ain't your job. It is your job, no matter what that caller calls about, it is your job to find out every answer possible, so that way it can be what they say, a one call solution, where something gets handled. So if she's not able to ask questions, now mind you, she came in 3 months after I did, and all that time I barely was asking questions, because I saw how he treated people. I saw how he talked to people, and I was just like, let me stay out this boy way, because he don't know no better. He doesn't know any better. He don't know no better. Because you already know you get more with honey than vinegar. Now, I done forgot how the real saying go. I just know you say honey and vinegar. That's all I know. And I was just like, you know what? I ain't got to be like that, Lord. I even got a chance to pray for somebody on the phone. Y'all, I was so excited, but I had kind of fell off because I started smoking weed, so I wasn't really paying no attention to who need prayer and stuff. Once you start smoking weed and you be working, you ain't going to be picking up on what God wants you to do for them people, and that was something that I can tell that hindered me being able to help them wholeheartedly. But I also realized that as time went on, I was becoming more and more irate with the treatment of the staff, from team leads, and also with the treatment of the customers. I kind of would take it home with me a little bit. I was very close to the patient's care. And even though I may have just been the person that answered the phone, but you know what? I didn't want you to get off that call with nothing resolved. There was a man calling because he needed his anxiety medication, and they would not prescribe it to him. And when they finally decided because he called for about a few weeks. He called for a few weeks just to be able to be prescribed anxiety medication. He was 90 years old. 90 years old. And they decided that they were going to prescribe him the medication, but give him less than what he was getting originally. This is basically like a breach in patient care. You really should not do stuff like that. That man was living in an assisted living facility, and they were like, oh, well, so-and-so used to feel this, so we're not going to feel it. That, I understand the implications of it, because it could be like not so much a HIPAA violation, but an incident where a patient is getting medication from two different places. So they're trying to mitigate that. I see that, but they know that he's not getting that medication from there anymore. So they were just blatantly not giving this man the medication that he needed to be able to keep his fears down. His wife had passed away. I'm not sure how long ago it had been, but he had been uneasy and just needed his medication ever since then, pretty much. And I was just like, I cannot believe they're not giving these people their medication. Or there was one lady, there was several women that would call, and they would be like, I'm not going to give this person this medication until this time, which if it was a controlled substance, so I wasn't really worried about that. I am wholeheartedly hoping that we get a hold of this opioid crisis. You know, hopefully, you know, these folks, they decide to get it together and stop trying to use their whatchamacallit, use their, what's the word, use their use I'm trying to think of this word. What kind of word am I thinking of? You know, a lot of times they want to say, oh, so and so, the reason why so and so is like that is because of this, but we're not like that, when in reality they just don't want to accept it. So they're spending a lot of time saying, hey, you know, I don't I need help, but they don't really want the help that's being given. So I really hope that we get a hold on this opioid crisis, and that way we can really prescribe these medications as needed to these patients, and really help them with their pain management, and really just help them keep from even needing the pain management medication in the first place. Because that was another thing. People, you know, people are having to wait for their medication because the doctor is just being pure lazy. They had me on the shift where basically there would be a doctor on call. I had two different encounters that really just said to me, you can't work this job anymore. The first one, the lady had just had a surgery and she was a diabetic, and she needed her diabetes medication. She went to the pharmacy. They did not have it. And when I looked in her chart, it said that they did. And I was just like, I was trying to ask her, I said, so when did you actually go? But she was so frustrated with the fact that I had to ask so many questions as I'm trying to help. And, you know, it just upset me because she had already gotten upset with me before, because I had to tell her that the doctor sent you to the ER, and then she was calling asking if she still needed to be at the ER because she had been waiting for quite some time. And I said, ma'am, I'm sorry that there are other people that are sick in them beds. And she felt like I had wronged her. But it was true. These people that are needing to be at the ER because she had an infection and she needed to be at the ER to be treated for it. And she had to wait. And she was not happy about that. That second time when she ended up needing that medication, I was so mad. And luckily the doctor on call for that clinic was very helpful and it was resolved. Now, the other clinic that I worked for, there were barely any resolvement of what happened. The lady told her doctor what medication she needed, and her doctor still sent the wrong medication. Another lady called needing a medication filled because it was supposed to already have been filled, and they're just, you know, doing nothing. The doctor on call that I spoke with when I was when the lady that needed the correct medication because the wrong one was called in, the doctor on call, when I called her, she said, why in the world are they calling right now? They could have been called. Why they ain't been called? Why are they not calling? You know, like, she was just like, it's 6 o'clock at night. And I was just like, I am so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I hung up on her. And I told the lady, you know, I spoke with the nurse, but she said that she's not going to be able to do anything because she's unaware of what the doctor did. And I was just like, you know, I had to let that go. So then the lady calls me, you know, the doctor calls me and says like, hey, why did you hang up? Like, don't be taking this personal. And I said, I don't feel comfortable talking to you. So then she decided to say, I'm going to report you. Why do you need to report me? Because I don't feel comfortable talking to you after the way you talked about this patient. Girl, I don't care. You talking about these patients like they the scum of the earth. They make you your money. Why are you sitting up there treating them like that? You don't care? If you don't care, quit your job. Money is the root of all evil. So if money ain't everything, if money don't buy happiness, then you already know you can quit your job and you'll receive the peace and joy that you need. So for them to just sit up there and treat them patients like that, I was just like, well, I'm gonna have to make a choice here, because Lord, I'm ready to make some heads roll about this, because I don't like this. I don't appreciate what they're doing. I don't appreciate it. And God told me, I said this in a previous video that I just made, the video that I made about God don't care if yada yada. Check out that video as well, because I said this in that video, and I'll say it again. He told me that I was making money off of sick people, and I was making money off of poor people. And I was just like, oh my goodness, Lord, I can't believe I've done that. Lord God, forgive me. And that is how you should feel when you're working a job. When you're quitting those jobs like that, that's how you're beginning to feel. That's God putting that feeling inside of you. It may not be it may not be that exact thing, but you are doing something that is unpleasing to God, and you're God's child, and you have to leave because you can't handle what it is that they're doing. It was so I was like, you got to quit this job. You too close. You got to quit this job. So I quit on October 29th. That was the last day that I worked there. And I left everything behind because, one, my roommate was about to try to kill me, and two, I couldn't work that job anymore. It wasn't for me. I quit so many jobs in the past and never realized that it was literally because of the fact that people were trying to do something wrong, and I wasn't going to stand for it. The only time I have not quit a job was when I worked at a nursing home, and the lady and the director felt like because I didn't nod my head when she said something, or speak when she said something about doing something right at the beginning of the pandemic, she decided she was going to make me lose my job. But there was plenty of other people that didn't say anything, and she just decided to point me out like, oh, she didn't say anything. I'm listening, I'm standing here. Like, they be wanting you to be like a little lapdog to them. I'm not no little lapdog for you. I don't care if you are the director. We standing here, we listening. We need to get back to work. We can't sit up here listening at you all day with your little coconut rum breath. And keep quitting them jobs, because God gonna take you to the place that you need to be. Don't be out here working these jobs that that you're profiting off of somebody being hurt. You're profiting off of somebody not getting the care they deserve. You're profiting off of poor people. God don't want that for you. God wants you to profit and have a purpose in life, but he's not going to allow you to do it on the backs of the poor and the needy. Thank you for watching. Y'all be blessed. Go check out all of my other videos, and be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. If you have a family member that has, if you know what place I'm talking about, just send me an email to queenscoop7@gmail.com. It's the number 7, because I'd love to do a video just talking with them about their experience with this hospital. It's not Baptist, and this is a very big hospital in the downtown area as well. And just shoot me an email, and I'd love to have a video or make a podcast episode about their experience with that hospital. And y'all have a good rest of the day.